4. Okay? When we look at this, it's like I have an L. Correct, guys? So I need to find the area of every single side. So I'm going to start with the L, that big front part, and I'm going to cut it down the middle. Right, like that. I could have cut it the other direction. You should still get the same answer, okay? So I want to find the area of this big rectangle right here. How do I find the area of this big rectangle, you guys? So I'm going to write 16 times 8, because that's what that box is. And what did we get for 16 times 8, you guys? You should have told me 128. Now, question, is this rectangle that I have here the same rectangle that's in the back? Yes, yes it is. So what can I do? Times 2. So what is 128 times 2? 256. Okay, then I want to finish off that L because I want that whole front side done. So I need to find the area of this rectangle right here. Well, I don't have any numbers listed there. One of the best things you can do, guys, is label every single side. Okay, so how do I find what this line is right here? Okay, it's 16. I don't technically have to do 16 minus 8. Because what's this line right here, guys? And if this line's 8, what's this line? Which means what's this line? So I'm going to label those lines 8 so that I know they are 8. Okay, then top and bottom. What do I have to do to figure out the top and the bottom? That one I have to do 16 minus 8 because the whole line's 16. Part of it's 8. So what's the other part? So that means that shape is a what? It's a square, right? Two-dimensional shape of a square. So I'm going to end up doing 8 times 8 for that square right there. What's 8 times 8? Now question, is that square the same as the back square? Yes. Alright, so what do I do? Times it by 2, because the front and the back are exactly the same, right guys? What's 64 times 2? 128. So that is the front L and that is the back L. Does that make sense, everyone? Questions so far? Okay, front and back are done, right guys? Now I need top, bottom, and all the sides, correct? The best way that I can tell you to do this is start from the top and work your way around like a clock. Do every side in order so you know you've hit every single side. Does that make sense? Okay, obviously it's not the only way. I just know that it will work. So if I start in the top, I need to know what are the lengths of these sides. I have this length and I have my width. What is my width? Because this line down here is 6, which means this line is what? 6. And don't forget to label every line, which means that line is what? 6. Label every single line because that's where the mistakes get made, is when we use the wrong number. So I'm going to end up doing what? 16 times 6. And what is 16 times 6? Alright, so that's my top. Any questions so far? Okay, let's go down the side. How do I figure out the area of this side? What's 8 times 6? Okay, now I've got this one underneath it that we can't see. Right, guys? Don't forget about the ones you can't see. So how do I find the area of this one right underneath it? I've got 8, I've got 6. We already did that, right? So far I've got 2 sides that are 8 times 6, correct? Okay, what about this one right here? I don't have these lines labeled. So what's this line? 8, because 8 plus 8 is 16, correct? And then what about this line? 6, because this line is 6. So that means this line going that way is 6, which means that is a 6. So now how many sides are 8 times 6? 3. What about this one on the bottom? So how many sides are 8 times 6? So what can I do here? I can just do 48 times 4. I could have also listed all of those sides out and been perfectly fine. 8 times 6, 8 times 6, 8 times 6, 8 times 6. Yeah. This side right here, the one underneath it, the one up against this side, and the one on the bottom.
Oh, on the bottom.
Yes. Don't forget the bottom.
Yeah,
Yeah, I haven't even gotten over here yet. We're on the bottom still. Yes, Isabel.
For the first thing we did for the 8 times 16, technically it's because of the back side too. Because there's like 3 sides on the back.
Are we talking about this 8 times 16?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did the front and the back. So far we've only done front and back. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So now I've done front L, the back L, top, side, bottom. So what's the last thing we have? I've got this side. What am I going to multiply here? Did we already do that? So I need to multiply it by 2. That is the one a lot of people did on the side. They did 16 times 8, so they did it 3 times, and that was one area mistake I saw in my first period class. So what is 96 times 2?
192.
Do we all agree on that?
Yeah.
I don't have that answer off the top of my head. So now, did we find all the sides? Yes, so what do we do? So add them all together. Oh, I forgot to ask what 48 times 4 was. Oh, funny, exactly the same. Remember to always double check your math. It's so easy to just slip a wrong number. What did we get, you guys? What? Inches squared. Squared inches. A lot of work. Questions, you guys? Bless you. Okay, we had started on number 2. So let's go finish number 2. Okay, we figured out the top one, correct, guys? Now we got to figure out the bottom one. Okay? Remember, go side by side by side. So I want this rectangle in the front. How do I find the area of this rectangle in the front? What's 2 times 9? Now, is that rectangle the same as the front as in the back? So times it by, and we get? Okay, what about this rectangle right here? 7 times 2, which is? Is this rectangle the same rectangle that's over here? So what can we do? Which is? Okay, so we've done all the sides. Now we need the bottom. How do I figure out the bottom? Which is? Is that the same as what's on top? No. Because we got that one rectangle sticking out from it, right, guys? Now, how many rectangles do we need to do on top? 2, because we've got this bigger one over here and a really itty-bitty tiny one over here, right, guys? Okay, let's do this tiny one. What do I multiply to get this tiny one? Good, 7 times 0.5. Which is? Okay, now I've got this bigger one and I need to figure out the length and the width. One of them's easy. One of them takes a little bit of math. What's the one easy number that we should know? 7. This side right here is 7. This line is going to take a little bit to figure out. I know the length of the entire thing is 9. So what do I need to do? Minus 2.5, because this is 2 and this is 0.5. So 2.5 is when you put them together. 9 minus 2.5 is what? So I end up doing 7 times 6.5. Which is? Sorry, what did we say? 45.5? Now have we found all the sides?
Yes.
So now you may add them all together. What did we get, you guys? You should get 298 feet squared. All right, guys, questions? All right, let's go do, we're going to go do this number 6 back on the yellow sheet of paper. What shapes do we see here? Okay, so we see 2 triangular prisms and 1 rectangular prism. Does that make sense?
Yes.
The easiest is always rectangular, right, guys? So let's start with the easiest. How many sides, think about if we were wrapping this as a Christmas gift. How many sides are there on this rectangular prism? 4. Because this top part and the bottom part go to the other 2 sides, right, guys? So we can't count the top and bottom because those parts don't get any wrapping paper, do they? Does that make sense? So there's only how many sides of the rectangular prism that we are going to find the surface area of? 4. Does that make sense, everyone? You can't do all the sides if they're not on the outside of the shape. When you put 2 things together, you can't count what's on the inside. So when we do this, let's find the area of the front one in front. Remember what I said before. Label every single line. Don't do shortcuts. So what's the label of this bottom line? These lines are 8. Because it's 8, 8, 8. So what's this bottom line here? The more you label your lines, the easier it is going to help you. Which means these 2 dotted lines in the back are what? So I'm going to label all of those. The more I label, the easier it hopefully will be because you won't be doing wrong numbers. So I know that I have 8. What about these side lengths right here?
6.
So that's a 6. That's a 6, which means this dotted line in the back is a 6. So how do I find the area of this front rectangle? 8 times 6. What is it? Now, if that rectangle is in the front, is it the same rectangle that's in the back?
Yes.
So I'm going to multiply that by, which is? So front and back of the rectangles. We're not even thinking about the triangles yet, okay, guys? Now we have the 2 sides. So I've got this side, which what am I going to multiply by? 3 and?
6.
Because I've got 6 going up and down and 3 is going to the side. What's 3 times 6? Is this side and this side exactly the same? So I can multiply that by 2. What's 18 times 2? All right, we did all of the rectangular prism. Does that make sense, guys? Now we have our triangular prisms left. So let's look at just the one on top. Okay, if I look on the one on top, we'll do our triangles first. How many triangles are there? Are they the same?
Yes.
Remember, to find the area of a triangle, you need base times height. And it must be at a 90-degree angle. So what two numbers make your triangle at a 90-degree angle? 2 and
3.
So we're doing 2 times 3, which is? Okay, so that's the area of the two triangles, right, guys? Now, rectangles. In a normal triangle prism, there is how many rectangles? 3, right? But in this triangular prism, how many are on the outside of the shape? 2. We got the one in top and the one in the back. Does that make sense? One on bottom is connected to your rectangular prism, so we can't count that one. So if I want to find the area of the one on the top, what do I multiply together? 8 times 3.6. You're probably going to need your calculator for that one. What is it? 28.8. All right, now we need the one in back. What do I multiply to get this one in back? 2 times 8, which is? All right. Any questions on the triangular prism on top? Okay, so now let's go look at the triangular prism on bottom. What do you notice about the triangular prism on bottom? It's exactly the same as the top. That's a bonus for us, right, guys? Less work. So if it's the exact same, that means the triangles are exactly the same. So what can I do to the area of the triangle? Times it by 2. Which means 6 times 2 is? And that means if the triangles are the same, that means the rectangles are also the same. Which means I can do 28.8 and do what with it? Times 2. Which is 57.6. And then I have the side that was 2 times 8, which is 16. What should I do to that? And 16 times 2 is? By having both of those triangular prisms be the same, it made our life easier. Do you think that's always going to be the case, guys? No, so don't always do that. What do we do now? If you haven't added them all together, please add them all together. Don't forget to label. Yes, Bennett.
On the top triangle, I just added all like the answers together and both like that.
Okay, guys, what do we get? Nice job, guys. Questions? Okay. We're going to flip back again. Told you you're flipping around a lot. All right, number 1. The reason I did this one last, and that's mainly because it's all the decimals, right, guys? Okay. So what I want you to do first is you and your partner need to find the area, surface area, of the rectangular prism. Do not worry about the triangular prism yet, please. Go.
I said